Go to Second Ezra. Get Second Ezra, start at 13. I'm going to show you the migration in the Bible. Now, before we were called Boricuas, right? Boricua is just the title. Taino is just the title. The word Taino means peaceable. The word Boricua means brave. The word Boriquén means land of the brave lords. That's right. Thank you. So we're gonna, and before that, they had a what they call a Byzantine name, and in the scriptures they were known as a tribe of Ephraim. So yeah, read that.
Second Ezra, chapter 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king,
Okay.
whom Salmanasar, the king of Assyria, led away captive.
So during the time of Assyria, during the empire of Assyria, these 10 tribes were taken away captive. Because what happened was, during the this is after King Solomon's reign. Before that time, King Solomon's time, when he died, there was a division with the 12 tribes, right? So you had the northern part of Israel and the southern part. So you had the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, right? The tribe of Ephraim, along with the other tribes, the 10 tribes were in the northern part. They got led away captive by the king of Assyria, right? Long after Solomon died. So now we're reading about what happened. They were given freedom to make a decision. And that decision was either they were going to stay or they were going to leave. Yeah, read that.
And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
Yeah.
But they took this counsel among themselves, that they will leave the multitude of the heathen.
Stop right there. So when they were taken captive, they were taken across to the land of Assyria, right? So what wound up happening was they were given freedom to make decisions. So they all got together, all the elders of our tribes got together and had a council. Read.
That they will leave the multitude of the heathen.
Stop right there. So they decided, we're going to leave all these heathen. We're going to leave out the midst of all these other nations. And we're going to go. We're going to leave. Why? Go ahead.
And go forth into a further country where never mankind dwells.
So our people knew about a country where no human beings were living at, which was this side of the world. The Most High made them privy to this information. They understood this. You understand? Read.
That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Because what happened during that split after Solomon died, our people went into pagan worshiping. Long ago, we were worshiping the sun god, the earth god, the rain god, the hurricane god. You understand? But we were calling them by different names. The same gods that were being worshipped in Puerto Rico. Guataúba, Dios del Sol, there was a god for everything. So we weren't doing that in our own land. So during this council, we said, look, we need to get away from all the heathen altogether. Why? Because they were always an influence on us. You understand? Go ahead.
And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river.
So now it's giving you a geological location. It's telling you they entered the Euphrates. From during this area up here, we entered into the Euphrates River through the narrow passages. So we got through these rivers to the main river. Then we went through the Euphrates. Go ahead.
For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood.
So what they're saying is the Most High held still these waters because these are very treacherous waters. So the Most High made them from being treacherous to being calm. Why? So we could pass through. You understand? So now we out into the ocean. Go ahead, read on.
Till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half.
So throughout a whole year and a half, it took us to go through this area, round down, and to get to this side of the world. It took us a year and a half to make that journey. You understand? And the first place we landed was where? South America. Go ahead.
And the same region is called Arzareth.
So now he's saying, he's giving us the name of this region. He's saying this region is called Arzareth. Now let's see if the Jewish scholars who have an online encyclopedia that anybody could visit know about this side of the world that we call America today. What it was called previously before Columbus got here. Because we're taught in school that he got here by accident. He discovered this land thinking he was in India and then called everybody here Indians. So I'm going to read a printout from the Jewish Online Encyclopedia, defining the word Osiris that we just read out of the Bible, the book of 2nd Ezra 13. Read this.
Osiris, the name of the land beyond the great Osiris, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man.
So we just read that out the King James Bible, 2nd Ezra. It mentioned Osiris. So now we're reading this out of the Jewish Encyclopedia. Go ahead.
In which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses.
So we just read that. We just read that the 10 tribes took counsel and said we will go to a further country where never mankind dwelt. Why? So they could keep the laws that they didn't keep in their own land. So we read. So this is known information, but it's not known to us. It's not made privy to us. It is not mentioned in our churches. There is a reason behind that. Read.
Observing the laws of Moses until the time of the restoration, according to 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 45.
So the restoration is happening now. We are restoring our people to this information. That's why we're out here. We're not out here to recruit nobody for no damn religion or no church.
That's right.
We're out here to wake our people up, to make them privy to this information. Why? Because y'all all lost. Y'all all out here rocking a flag. That the history of that flag is based on your oppression.
That's right.
But yeah, you're wearing it and you say you got orgullo for that flag. And you're doing it in ignorance. So we out here teaching you your history. Get it straight. We're not out here to collect no donations, nor to recruit nobody for no religion. We out here in sincerity to teach you your history. Start it again.
Columbus identified America with this land.
So Columbus identified America with this land of Osiris, documented in 2nd Ezra found in the Bible.
To sail west, to open a new route to Asia. Asia is the richest kingdom, the land of spices and gold. At the moment, there are only two ways of reaching it. By sea, sailing around the African continent. The journey takes a year. Or by land. But the Turks have closed this route to all Christians. There is a third way. By sailing west across the ocean sea.
The distance is unknown. It's said to be infinite.
Superstition. I believe the Indies are no more than 750 leagues west of the Canary Islands.
How can you be so certain?
The calculations of Toscanelli, Marin de Tir, Esdras.
Esdras is a Jew.
So what's worse?
2 minutes, and already you're a dead man.
For telling the truth?
Yes. We are burning people for less. The men you're about to confront have no emotions.
This is how he knew there was land on this side of the world. But you've been lied to in school. They teach you Columbus found this place thinking he landed in India. That is a bold-faced lie. But in ignorance, we accept it and we continue living our lives like good little sheep. And continue spending $200 to $300 on Jordan sneakers. Continue to buy weed and alcohol. You understand? We have a true history and they're keeping it from us for a reason. So Columbus, that's fact right there. Columbus identified America. He presented this information to the Queen of Spain. And in return, she gave him an army, 4 main ships, and a fleet on his first voyage and landed in the Caribbean islands in Hispaniola, known today as the Dominican Republic, and conquered the people in 1492. There was a celebration. They conquered our people and forced them to learn everything that you hold today as tradition. But yet our true culture, our true nationality was forced out of us through bondage, through rape, through pillaging, by enslaving our children and killing the old people. Now we're going to read that out of the Bible. Get that in Deuteronomy 28. We're going to read to you that they came to this side of the world bearing the symbol of the eagle. Because if you look on the sign, hold that up, Ramaya, right there, hold that up. The Spaniards always bear the symbol of the eagle. I got it right here. You see this? On this coin right here, the Caucasians, who started off as the Greeks, as an empire, always bear the symbol of the eagle. Likewise, Rome, then Spain, bear the image of the eagle. So when Columbus came here, that was their symbol on their flag, was an eagle. Let's read that out of the Holy Bible, the King James Bible, 1611. We're going to read it out of there. So we just read, let's recap. We just read out of 2nd Ezra that this side of the world was called Arthurus. The Jewish Encyclopedia just told us that Columbus identified. That was the only way, the only name he could give this place on a map was Arthurus, because he identified with that land out of the Bible. And that this will be the land where the Hebrews were at, the 10 tribes that disappeared out of the land of Assyria. Read.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee.
So he just read out of the King James Bible, Deuteronomy 28, that the enemy would come, and in hunger and in thirst we will have to go to that enemy, and he will put a yoke of iron upon our necks. Now this, when you read up above, go to where it says the curses for a sign. Read that.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
So now, if the so-called Caucasian man in Israel today are the Jews of the Bible, are the Hebrews of the Bible, they should fit these curses. There should be historical records that they were put in bondage by their enemies, and these curses are upon them till this day, because we just read that they will pursue us and overtake us and be upon our seeds forever, which is our children, our descendants. There's no documented history where they had yokes of iron on their necks. Pull up the sign with the yokes of iron. There is no documented records that they had yokes of iron on their necks and that they had to serve their enemies in want of everything. Only history you have is that they went into a so-called, what the hell is that thing called? The concentration camps. And history, and it's proven fact that those concentration camps were just prisons. And they didn't even serve bondage. They didn't do no work in there. Here we served bondage in 1492 all the way up into the 1700s. We served captivity. We had yokes of iron on our necks. You understand? Yeah, read that. Go back to the nation. Right.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he have destroyed thee.
Yeah, go on.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
So now we just read out of the Jewish Encyclopedia, they understood that America was called Osiris in the Bible, correct? I'm not making that up. The Bible just said this enemy would come from a faraway land, and he would travel as swift as an eagle. History bears witness that they bore the symbol of the eagle, and they came from the other side of the world. Once again, that's identifying with who? The so-called Spaniards. And that's our history right there. That has to do with us. And he would put a yoke of iron on our necks until we were destroyed. Why? Are you walking around with a yoke of iron on your neck, young man? None of us are. Why? Because we're destroyed. Once we were destroyed, then the yokes came off. The same way as when you get a dog. You keep a leash on him until he understands what? He got to come to you for shelter. He got to come to you for food. He got to come to you for everything. And you are what? His master. Then you could take the leash off the dog's neck. Why? Because he's broken. How you know how people are broken? Because you call yourself a Puerto Rican, the same brother next to you that looks like you, speaks the same language you speak, has the same history you have, is from the same region you're from, is calling himself a Dominican. Another brother with the same identifications is calling himself Mexican, and so forth. Colombian, Peruvian, Brazilian. And then we all look at each other with hate. We don't associate ourselves with one another, but yet we're almost identical. The Bible is giving us the records of what happened to us. We all the same people, brother. Read that. Finish reading that.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
So the Taínos on Puerto Rico did not understand Spanish. Their native language was not the language of Spain, which is Spanish. Our native tongue was Hebrew. The Spaniards knew that. That's why Columbus took Hebrew translators with him. Let's get that. Who got that? Give me that book. Get it again. We're going to read this out of some historical records that Columbus had to bring Hebrew translators with him. He didn't take Hindu translators with him, but yet they teach us in school that he thought he was in India. If that's true, how come he didn't have Hindu translators with him to break down the Hindu language? We're going to get this out of a book called The Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. This is a book of collected records from the journals of the conquistadors and other travelers. Call the page.
This is page 92. We do not know much concerning Columbus's crew of about 90 men aboard the 3 ships, but at least one of them was an Israelite, whose presence as such was not merely accidental.
So the book itself is telling you it wasn't an accident that an Israelite, a man who spoke Hebrew, was on Columbus's ship on his first voyage. That was not by accident. And if this is documented in records, why in our school are they telling us that he discovered America by accident?
This was Luis del Torres, a convert of possibly only that year, who had once held a position with the governor of Murcia. He was said to have known Hebrew, Aramaic, and some Arabic.
It said he spoke Hebrew, that was his native tongue. Aramaic, which is the ancient Hebrew, and some Arabic. People get it confused. They might think Aramaic is talking about Arabic. No, Aramaic is the ancient form of Hebrew. It's the oldest form of Hebrew, which is what Arabic comes from. Arabic is a derivative of the Hebrew language itself. So that was a backup. So now he took this man with him to the islands, to this side of the world, Urseret, on his first voyage. Finish that.
And had been brought along by Columbus specifically as an interpreter.
So here we have documented records that Columbus brought Hebrew translators with him on his first voyage. And they said it wasn't an accident. We just read out of the Jewish Encyclopedia that he identified America with the biblical land called Urseret, in which the 10 tribes will later dwell observing the laws. So he knew because of the Bible that this land was even here, and that it was inhabited by Hebrews. But yet you Puerto Ricans are going to a damn festival in honor of a flag and in honor of your destruction, because you walk around and celebrate your name Puerto Rican, which means you are walking port of riches. Little do you know that name is a mockery. That flag is a mockery of your captivity. You're walking around in ignorance, but yet you walk by and stare your teeth at us, thinking that we're out here like some damn Christians trying to recruit you for some stupid religion.
That's right.
No, we're out here to inform you, because we are in the last days, and it is time for you to wake up to who you are.
That's right.
That is why we're here. Don't get it confused. This is not a religion or a church. Go back to Deuteronomy 28 and read back where you was.
Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
So the Bible said that his enemy will not show favor to the young, nor regard the person of old. We have more documented records where the Spaniards did that to you, to your grandparents, to your ancestors. When they got off those ships, there was no negotiations. They got off fully armed, with their war gear on, with their swords drawn, and they slew the elders of our people and the young. That was what they did as soon as they got off those ships.
Go to 26, page 26.
We're going to read more historical records on this, so you can understand this is not us interpreting the Bible. We are backing up what the scriptures said prophetically and showing you that it's no more prophecy, it is now history. Start from the read from the top.
In the book.
Bartolome de las Casas, a short account of the destruction of the Indies. Page 26. In 1509, the Spanish, with the same purpose in mind as they had when they landed in Hispaniola, found their way to the two verdant islands of Puerto Rico.
So the same thing they did in Hispaniola, which is called Dominican Republic. And all you Dominicans out here don't even know why you call yourself a Dominican. You don't know what it means, but yet you have orgullo in that name. We're reading about what the Spaniards did to our people. He's saying, Bartolome de la Casa is saying the same thing they did in DR is what they did in Puerto Rico. So when you read in this book what they did to DR, it's atrocious. They did what the Bible said they were going to do. They came with a fierce countenance and didn't regard the people of old nor show favor to the young. We're going to read that. Yeah.
Found their way to the two verdant islands of Puerto Rico and Jamaica, both of them lands flowing with milk and honey. Here, they perpetrated the same outrages and committed the same crimes as before, devising yet further refinements of cruelty, murdering the native people, burning and roasting them alive, throwing them to wild dogs, and then oppressing, tormenting and plaguing them with toil down the mines and elsewhere.
So after they came and slaughtered our elders, and why do you slaughter the elders when you're going to conquer a people? Because they're the ones that hold your history. They're the ones that teach the young. So if you want to destroy a people, you destroy their elders first, and then you enslave the young, and you teach them what you want. That is why you Puerto Ricans and Dominicans are walking around here today, calling yourselves Puerto Ricans, calling yourselves Dominicans, speaking the Spanish language. And then if I ask you, what is the native language of the Tainos? You're going to shrug your shoulders and say you don't know. You might even say that it was Spanish, which is utter ignorance. But yet, we don't blame you for that. That's why we are here to teach you. So Bartolome is saying, they refined their cruelty. Whatever they did in Hispaniola, they made it better. Better ways to torture our people and to destroy them by the time they got to Puerto Rico. And at the end of it, at the end of all that, they came up with a red, white, and blue flag. By the time you have the Spanish-American War, and you think that flag represents you, it doesn't. It represents your ignorance and your captivity today. That's what you're celebrating. So these people in government that sit all the way up at the top, that know this information, you're making them very happy. You're showing them that their efforts for generations is still working on you. Because
You are still walking around in your ignorance and you take pride in it. Let's finish that. Go ahead. Murdering the native people, burning and roasting them alive, throwing them to wild dogs, and then oppressing, tormenting and plaguing them with toil down the mines and elsewhere. And so once again killing off these poor innocents to such effect that where the native population of the two islands was certainly over 600,000, and I personally reckon it at more than 1 million, fewer than 200 survived on each of the two islands, all of others having perished without ever learning the truth of the Christian religion and without the benefit of the sacraments.
So that number of 200 is not accurate. The Tainos survived in great number. They hid in the caves of the Junque, the caves of the islands. They fled to other islands and hid. So a lot of you Hispanics think that you're more Spaniard than you are Taino. Some of you are, but not all of you. So you can't identify with these curses because this is about you. Let's finish that in Deuteronomy 28.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until thou be destroyed. What also shall not leave thee the corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kin.
So what did they do? They stripped our land. They stripped everything from us.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way thereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
So the Bible is saying that this same enemy that the Most High sent against us for not keeping the commandments would put us on slave ships. The Bible is telling you that your enemies will put you on slave ships. The enemy of the Hebrews. Did the so-called Caucasian man ever get put on slave ships and sold as slaves? There's no record of that nowhere. And if you have it, bring it and we'll stop teaching. And I guarantee you will find nothing because it don't exist. But there are 400 years of records of our people being put on slave ships with yokes of iron on their neck by a nation whose language we did not understand, and how we still to this day got to go to that same nation for everything we want, from a driver's license to a marriage certificate. You have to go to this enemy. The Bible's calling him an enemy. And let's see what else he would do.
Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
So the Bible said we would enter into Egypt again on ships. When the Israelites first entered into Egypt, there was no need for a ship. They entered in walking. When they left Egypt, there was still no need for a ship. They left walking. So what is this Egypt referring to? According to Exodus, get that in Exodus. We're going to read out the Bible what the word Egypt represents.
Teach people about knowledge?
You mean the whole purpose of what we're doing?
Yes.
Get that in Second Kings or 1 Kings 8. Get that. The reason we're out here is because people think going to a church is the way to repent, right? I'm going to show you out the Bible what it takes to repent, because all of our people have a lot to repent for and they don't realize it.
I thought you only allowed to repent once.
No, I'm going to show you. Let's let the Bible answer your question, because I'm just a man. I want the Bible to answer your question. Read that. Hold it.
1 Kings chapter 8, verse 46. If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not.
Hold that sound up. Let's see if we sinned against the Most High. Out of the first commandment in the 10 commandments, we have to, we can't have any other God before us other than the one true God, right? In Puerto Rico, did they not worship the sun god? Did they not worship the god called Guatauba, the god of the hurricanes? We had many gods. In Mexico, did they not build pyramids just like in Egypt? Those pyramids were built by the same people that built them in Mexico. They had the same information. All in representation of what? Deity gods, pagan gods. So we sinned against the Most High. Read.
If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy, so that they carry them away captives unto the land of the enemy, far or near.
Now we just read that out of Deuteronomy 28. We just read that the enemy was going to come from far, bearing a symbol of what? The eagle. They were going to put yokes of iron on our necks and put us on ships. So we're showing you that part of repentance, according to the Bible, is to what? Remember who you are. And not just who you are, but who your forefathers are. We're going to read that.
And repent, and make supplication unto thee, and the land of them that carried them captive, saying, We